Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Whose Fault Is It Anyways? If you want to be in the next episode, leave a comment with the information you see on the screen, and I might pick you, but I also might roast you, so be prepared. Today, I asked my Discord for some games, and we're going to break down one where the contestant, will say, did not like the last pick of their team. They felt like it led to the loss. So, is that true? Now, I want to do this because I do think drafting is pretty weak in a lot of pub games, so I'd like to break this down and help you guys make educated picks. Let's start with our contestant, first phasing Pugna. Now, Pugna is a little weird, but I mean, pub games, anything can work. There's all sorts of legitimate drafts, but keep in mind that there are certain concepts that are easier to execute with a pub team, right? A no stun, heavy tempo lineup. That's much easier for pros to enact. In a pub game, right? It tends to fall apart. So Pugna can work, but just keep in mind you're running this risk, which is like Pugna requires certain types of heroes to really work, and that means you are depending on your team to fill in those blanks, and that naturally means that you will be let down by your teammates. Whereas if you pick a more standard 4, let's say, it fits more general concepts, and that way you're less likely to be disappointed by your team. Now, you're of course free to play who you'd like, which is weird to say in a game we're about to critiquing who people pick, but just keep in mind, when you play who you like, there are issues with that. So Pugna's one of them. To showcase that, let's keep moving, right? Dazzle on his own, a fine hero. Dazzle with Pugna support, we're running into some issues. These are two backline supports who cannot get things done themselves. Compare that to a Clockwork pick, a Jakiro or Lich pick. Jakiro and Lich are backline heroes, but they have slows and stuns. Clockwork is an initiating melee hero. So if Pugna and, say, our Clockwork tried to do anything together, Clockwork ults in, Cogs, battery assault, Pugna starts draining. That's a combo that just two supports can do. What are Dazzle and Pugna going to do? They're going to slowly walk in, they're going to find someone, and that's it. They're not going to initiate. They don't have any lockdown. Pugna's going to start draining, and they're just going to walk away. Dazzle might apply a slow, but it's not very strong, so if they have any stuns or gap closing, they're going to hit you with them and run away. It's very difficult to make work. So right now we have two backline heroes who have a bit of counter synergy because Dazzle prefers physical damage lineups, and Pugna wants magic damage lineups. So it's awkward. It can still work, but we are heavily dependent on our core players to now fill in the rest of the draft. The enemy team, they show Undying and Muerta here. Now, Muerta could go in any role right now. People are playing her all over the place, but I'll just tell you ahead of time, she is in the 4 role. So let's talk about some considerations then for the other roles. Offlane wants someone who can kind of deal with Undying. You don't want to get totally destroyed in the laning stage, but you need to think about later on in the game now as well, which is that you need someone into frontline, you need someone to initiate, you might need someone to build auras. The mid lane also has many of these same considerations. You probably don't have to deal with the Undying, right? But you want someone to gap close, maybe provide some magic burst with the Pugna, but you could also go for the physical lineup side of it with the Dazzle. Either's kind of okay, but those should be some things you're thinking about. And the carry role, they're probably just going to pick damage, and that's fine. That's kind of what the carry role does. You don't usually expect them to build auras, to initiate. They can, so we could ask them to flex a little bit, but if we were going to assume any role was only going to do one thing, it should really be the carry who just picks the best damage dealing hero for a given game. The offlaner picks Bounty. What does Bounty do? Bounty does kind of deal with Undying because Bounty is fast and not a strength hero. Bounty Hunter does kind of frontline because he actually gets fairly tanky as an offlaner with some items he builds. Doesn't typically build auras though, and doesn't have any form of lockdown. But Bounty Hunter as a hero really needs to find kills, which means we're in a really weird spot now, which is if we want to kill anyone, all of our heroes literally just have to run at them and hope you get a kill. That's weird. That's awkward. Other offlaners that would have worked, initiating frontlining side, right? Someone like Centaur, someone like Doom, Mars, those could all be better. I know those are some strength heroes into Undying, which is a little difficult, but sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and do it, right? And do Creep Dragon and stuff. Other ranged heroes could kind of work, like Death Prophet, Nature's Prophet. Now, they don't have as much lockdown, but they're going to win their lane. They're kind of active. They can do a bit more and set stuff up. I don't like love those either with our current support duo, but like sometimes that like those are some other ideas that could work. The carry picks Juggernaut. We're actually not going to talk about this that much, but you can see that Juggernaut's also lacking some of these, right? He's not going to really initiate and start things. He doesn't provide lockdown. So we are really missing that going into our last pick. The enemy shows Doom and Anti-Mage. This is what we're worried about. Anti-Mage, a very mobile hero, is going to be extra difficult to deal with if we do not have any form of lockdown from our mid laner. Someone who can jump to the Anti-Mage quickly and then silence or stun. Right? Stuns are ideal, but at least the silence to prevent him from blinking will work until he picks up a Manta, and at that point, hopefully you've got another item to deal with it, but you need something to deal with the Anti-Mage. And we don't even, to save time, I won't even go further into it, right? The Nature's Prophet last pick is not filling what we need. Yes, there's a leash on the Sprout, but that comes at level 20. That's a long time to be waiting. There is an Aghanims to make the ultimate root. That's a lot of gold to be waiting for to be able to make plays. So what I want to show you now is examples of this lineup just struggling to work. Oh, actually, but before I forget, so alternate picks, so like the carry could pick someone like CK who has a stun, the mid, right? We want someone who now maybe lean towards physical damage because there's an anti-mage who's naturally resistant to magic damage and someone who's still going to initiate and start stuff. So Primal Beast could work. Kunkka could work. You could still go for like those magic gap closers like Puck, Storm Spirit. Like they technically fit the bill, but like they might have a hard game against Anti-Mage, right? I will throw out here again, yes, play heroes you're comfortable with rather than ones that fit the draft, but you have no idea how to play. But, you know, after you play a certain amount of Dota, I hope you're expanding your pool to start covering these things. So when you say, wow, I just need a damage dealer, someone who's very mobile, here's my comfort hero number 1. And it's like, wow, I need someone who just front lines and builds auras. I don't need damage. I just need to be very tanky. Comfort hero number 2, right? Or like, okay, initiation, right? Comfort hero number 3. Like, fill in a couple gaps so that you're not always stuck into the same category, and that'll make your games a little easier. Let's get into some examples. Here's a Doom running down the support Dazzle. Nature's Prophet mid. He's going to TP in to help. It's going to try to Sprout, but Sprout is not actual lockdown, so things like Quelling Blade, later on Force Staff, different heroes have just abilities that can blink out of it, things like that. Until that talent comes in at level 20, right, this is not an actual stun. And so here's this Doom, who really ought to die, cuts the wrong tree, so he's actually stuck here a little bit, and we just can't really get him, right? It's hard because there's no stun. Now Pugna gets his ankles broken by this Doom, and Doom runs out of there super speedy, right? Which is kind of funny. But a mid hero who has any kind of stun or a strong slow or anything like that would pick up this kill. Here's another one. We got Anti-Mage farming at the low ground. This is his vision. Any kind of mobile hero from the mid lane farming in this area could surprise this Anti-Mage. Someone like Storm Spirit, Void Spirit, Primal Beast, those heroes we just talked about, X Marks, Boat Him, you know, any of them could get this Anti-Mage kill. You know what? Anti-Mage just going to blink away, go back to farming. Again, any of those mobile heroes? Oh, wait, Anti-Mage is still right here. Let me just doot, boop, bop. Dead Anti-Mage. But no, this Anti-Mage at half health is just going to continue farming. Same spot, but even sadder this time, because Anti-Mage is even lower health this time, and still, a Nature's who tries to walk in here, surely Anti-Mage will just blink away and do this. But man, if we had any hero, right? Here's our global mobility, but still doesn't really stop Anti-Mage from just blinking at low cooldown and getting away. It wasn't just Nature's Prophet we were talking about, though. Here's Bounty Hunter. Having a good game as the off lane, would love to just run people down. Well, maybe not a great game, but, you know, would love to run people down. Here's this Muerta support. Can't kill her, even though we got 2 heroes here, because she just walks away from us. Now let's look at a kind of a long, drawn-out fight. Because I'm not saying these type of lineups, like, they can still get kills, but it's just a lot harder. So right, here's a lot of heroes just running away from the support that we were talking about. Here's an Anti-Mage just blinking in because he's not scared for his life. He's like taking a lot of time to chase this Muerta, right? This mid laner's got a TP in. And you know what? Okay, Sprout does catch certain types of heroes, so that is some form of crowd control, but it's not the same hard lockdown that would help us get an anti-mage kill. So here we are, just continuing to run away. There's a low health anti-mage we'd love to get, but he gets to just walk away. And then when like fights do happen and they can't just walk away, you do pick up kills. But look how many heroes it took. Look how long it took. We started here, we had to like run all the way here and all of this. We were sped up. Here's an SF farming in the mid lane versus 5 heroes and then just blinks away because he's not scared, because who's gonna get him? He can watch, he could stand right here versus 5 enemy heroes right here and he will not die. Why? Because we severely lack any form of crowd control that would keep him here and not simply walk or blink away. Earlier, I mentioned how the support duo plus a core wants to be able to do stuff. Well, here we are trying. We got Bounty, we got Pugna, Dazzle's a little bit behind, but how do we actually make things happen when we find heroes? So here we go. Should we get these guys? Could we like blink call? Could we channel Epicenter, jump in? Could we Mars Arena so that, you know, Pugna gets a drain? How about we just run at him, maybe? You know, just chase him. This gives a lot of time for the enemy to bring in enemy heroes, to get back to their towers, and that makes these kind of pickoffs very difficult, and now the supports just have to leave. All right, let's end with a compare and contrast. Here is our no lockdown team trying to smoke up, trying to pick someone that we just have to slowly run at. Who do we go to? Top, bottom, Doom up here. Found him. Ah. Blinked away. Nuts. All right. That's it, I guess. That's our smoke. So now they're going to try to force Roshan, you know, oh, we chased away the enemy team. And yeah, that can kind of work on its own. But we're now going to get to see what happens when you have some forms of blink initiation, right? Which is like, okay, we kill this Muerta, cool. And then, whoa, what's this? I don't have time to react because I didn't have to slowly see Doom walk all this way and catch up to me. He just blinked on me and had lockdown, and now I can't play the game and I'm going to die? That doesn't seem fair. Doesn't seem fair that SF just gets to blink in here either. No time for me to react. He gets the BKB and ult and now we're all feared away? He didn't just walk in here? So you can see how much easier it is to kind of execute these fights when you get to choose when to go in, when you prevent the enemy, right? Here he is trying to use his soft lockdown, but you get to cut out of trees. He has a spare set of tangos to do this, right? He's rooted, but it's not a disarm, so we got an extra auto attack in, right? There's a difference between hard lockdown and soft lockdown. And yes, both have their place. I'm not saying this lineup could never work, but it's harder. When you have just straight up lockdown, straight up initiation, heroes that naturally do that is so much easier to play the game. So they eventually lose. You can kind of see already it's not looking great. 14k up for the Radiant. So we will end here. I strongly recommend you all, please think about your drafts. I almost forgot, just to give you something to improve on as well, my friend. Pugna, don't leave this lane. So mid lane, look at this. Level 8, level 5, sucks. Okay, there are certain recovery kills, right? Like, hey, we go in, we chain stun him, we burst in, we get him. You don't have a stun. This support doesn't have a stun. There's really not much you can do this Shadow Fiend. It's going to be extremely difficult. This Shadow Fiend's out of control, but there's only so much he can farm if you think about it, because there's only creeps every 30 seconds. There's only so many camps nearby. He is still in the early game. He's killing this Nature's Prophet, but look at his items, right? He can't easily navigate the whole map and do everything like that. There's only so much farm he can get at this point. The only way you can get more farm is to bring him more farm in the form of kills. What you want to do instead is try to open up the map. This is one of the advantages of Pugna with the Blast. You did kick Anti-Mage out of this lane, Bounty Hunter has the Vanguard. You have to take this tower as quickly as you can, because now maybe Bounty Hunter can join you trying to kill Shadow Fiend, and that could work, maybe. But if you don't do this, what ends up happening, you try to help mid, but there's really not much you can do. And Shadow Fiend will take this tower. You won't have bottom tower. and it becomes difficult to avoid Shadow Fiend further because there's only so much of the map you can play because it's being restricted as you lose towers, and you can't play on their half of the map because you don't have this tower, right? If you were here with this catapult blasting this wave, look what Bounty's gonna do. He's literally just gonna run around with his Undying. But offlaners who are winning can't always solo kill either. They also need help. So you should be down here helping him out, not letting the enemy team, not letting this Undying get anything out of this lane, take this tower even faster. You'd have this tower down before SF took the mid tower. And like I said, now maybe the two of you can push into the jungle and go chase this SF. Or maybe you can draw SF into the jungle trying to chase you out. You avoid him. You buy time for Nature's Prophet to do something instead. But if you try to come mid when you're a hero who can't really do it, and yes, Pugna can kind of wave clear, so in a way you kind of delayed this, but it may come down more to the very draft specifics, but at least my impression this game, I think you should be helping to take bottom tower rather than try to hold mid longer against a hero this out of control. You're more likely to just die and actually just give him more farm. So now that's it. Thank you for watching. Again, leave comments if you want to be in the next one. Bye.